My name is Dr. Karen Langford, and I've been a practicing veterinarian for over 17 years, specializing in orthopedic and sports-related injuries in working and companion dogs. Among the many cases I've handled, one of the most memorable is Toby, a 5-year-old male German Shepherd whose resilience left a lasting impression not only on me but on everyone who was part of his recovery. I met Toby on a gray November morning. His owners, Adam and Claire, had driven 2 hours to reach our clinic after their local vet referred them to our orthopedic center. Toby had been limping for several weeks, and recently, his condition had deteriorated to the point where he was refusing to bear weight on his left hind leg altogether. Adam was a tall, quiet man in his early 40s, dressed in a flannel jacket still dusted with hay from their small family farm. Claire had the look of someone used to early mornings and long days, practical clothes, tired eyes, but a fierce protectiveness when it came to Toby. From the moment they stepped into the exam room, it was clear, this dog was family. Toby wasn't just a pet. He was a working dog, helping to herd a small flock of sheep on their property in the valley north of our clinic. He was trained, sharp, and disciplined, with the kind of intelligence and drive that defines the German Shepherd breed. But that morning, he wasn't himself. He greeted us politely, but his posture was stiff, and the weight imbalance was evident. He hovered his left hind leg slightly off the ground, his right leg compensating, muscles visibly overworked. 3 weeks ago, he jumped off the back of the UTV while we were moving some fencing equipment, Adam explained. It wasn't a big jump, he's done it hundreds of times. But this time, he yelped when he landed. We rested him for a few days. He seemed okay, then started limping again. Now he can't even use the leg. Toby lay on the floor as I began my examination. Palpating his knee, I felt a subtle instability. He was tense, but he allowed me to manipulate the joint. Then came the drawer test. With one hand on his femur and the other on his tibia, I applied gentle forward pressure. The telltale sliding motion confirmed my suspicion. I looked up at Adam and Claire. I believe Toby has a torn cranial cruciate ligament, what we often call a canine ACL injury. I'd like to take radiographs to confirm and assess the joint further, but based on this exam, I'd say the ligament is ruptured. I saw the concern on Claire's face immediately. Can it be fixed? It can, I replied. We have a very high success rate with surgery. He'll need time, rehabilitation, and care, but he's a healthy dog and still young. If we proceed, there's a good chance he can return to a full, active life. The radiographs confirmed it. A complete tear of the cranial cruciate ligament in the left stifle, knee. The joint space had signs of early arthritis, something we often see even in acute tears, but there was no severe damage to the surrounding bone. Meniscal damage was possible, but we wouldn't know for sure until surgery. We scheduled Toby's surgery for the following week. Adam and Claire returned home with pain medications, joint supplements, and strict instructions to keep Toby calm and confined, something easier said than done with a dog who lived to move. Surgery day. On the day of surgery, Toby arrived at 7 a.m. I remember that he seemed slightly nervous, tail low, ears halfway back, not scared, but uncertain. Adam crouched next to him in the waiting area, speaking in low tones. It was clear the two shared a bond built on years of working side by side. We prepared Toby for a TPLO, tibial plateau leveling osteotomy. It's one of the most effective surgical methods for cruciate ligament tears, especially in active or working dogs. The TPLO works by altering the angle of the tibial plateau, the top part of the shin bone, so the femur no longer slides forward when the dog bears weight, even without the ligament. Once anesthetized, we shaved and sterilized the area, and I made my incision. Inside the joint, my earlier suspicion was confirmed. The ligament was completely ruptured, and there was minor damage to the medial meniscus, which we trimmed to prevent future pain and joint locking. I made the bone cut in the tibia and rotated the segment to achieve a 5-degree plateau angle, optimal for Toby's anatomy. A titanium plate and 6 screws secured the new alignment. The surgery went smoothly, and by early afternoon, Toby was in recovery. He woke slowly from anesthesia, eyes blinking against the light. A tech sat beside him, monitoring his vitals. His leg was bandaged, his body sore but stable. The first 48 hours. Post-operative pain management was key. We administered a combination of NSAIDs, gabapentin, and cold packs over the incision site for the first 48 hours. He was groggy but alert, lifting his head each time someone entered his run. I visited him regularly throughout the first day and night. Adam and Claire came the next morning. Toby's ears perked the moment he heard Adam's voice. That was the first tail wag since he arrived. Claire sat cross-legged on the floor, talking to him softly. "We're gonna take care of you, big guy. No sheep for a while, but we'll be back out there." We sent them home with detailed discharge instructions, a custom sling to assist with walking, and an ice machine designed for dogs, yes, those exist, for managing post-op swelling. They'd cleared a space in their living room for Toby's recovery crate, removed any stairs from his routine, and were already planning shifts to monitor him full-time. The first month. Toby's progress over the first 4 weeks was steady, but it wasn't easy. The first 2 weeks were crate rest, with short, leashed bathroom breaks. We did passive range of motion exercises daily, and Adam emailed me videos weekly for feedback. Claire kept a log of his medications and activity. Despite some restlessness, Toby was remarkably cooperative. At week 3, we started underwater treadmill therapy at a local canine rehabilitation center. The buoyancy helped reduce strain on his joints, and the controlled environment allowed for precise gait observation. At first, Toby was skeptical of the treadmill, but by the second session, he was moving well. By week 4, he was bearing about 60% of his weight on the surgical limb, and we saw marked improvement in muscle tone. A setback. At week 5, however, Toby had a minor setback. He slipped on the hardwood floor trying to get to the door when someone rang the bell. No visible injury, but his limp returned. Adam called me within an hour. He's favoring it again, not like before, but noticeably. We brought him in for re-evaluation. The plate and screws were intact. Radiographs looked good. It appeared to be a soft tissue strain or momentary aggravation, no surgical failure, but a reminder that recovery wasn't linear. We increased his anti-inflammatories briefly, re-emphasized the importance of controlling his environment, and adjusted his rehab program to back off for a few days before resuming. Approaching 8 weeks. At the 8-week mark, Toby was back on track. His gait was smoother, his posture better aligned, and he showed improved proprioception and balance. We added more strength-building exercises, including balance discs and uphill leash walking. It was around this time that I began to see the return of Toby's old spirit. He was alert, eager, occasionally stubborn, all good signs of a dog regaining confidence. One session at the rehab center stands out. He stood at the edge of the treadmill, tail high, eyes locked on the tech holding a ball. He wasn't supposed to be fetching yet, but the gleam in his eye said, "I'm coming for that thing soon." And that's where we'll pick up next, his transition back to full activity, the final phase of rehab, and the day Toby played fetch again like nothing had ever happened. By the time Toby reached the 10-week mark post-surgery, he was in what we call the transitional phase of rehabilitation. The bone had largely healed, but muscle mass was still rebuilding, and the neuromuscular control of his hind limb wasn't yet where it needed to be for full work or sport. Still, every week brought visible progress. We began integrating more advanced balance and strengthening exercises. These included figure-8 leash walks, low step-ups, controlled hill climbs, and cavaletti rails to encourage proper foot placement. Toby's attitude had also shifted. He was more alert and driven, eager to please but growing impatient with his limitations. Claire mentioned that he had started bringing his favorite ball to them again in the evening, dropping it at their feet and sitting expectantly. "We tell him, not yet, buddy, but it's like he knows it's coming soon," she said during a check-in. We had him on a high-quality joint support plan, a glucosamine, chondroitin combo, omega-3s, and dasaquin advanced. His weight was perfectly maintained, credit to the owners for not overfeeding during inactivity, which is unfortunately a common setback in recovery cases. We monitored his gait, range of motion, and strength through regular checkups and coordinated with his rehab therapist weekly. The day he trotted. At week 12, I asked Adam to bring Toby in for a re-evaluation. We performed a full orthopedic exam and then took him outside onto the clinic's exercise field, which we use for movement assessment. Adam unclipped the leash under my direction and gave Toby the signal, "Easy, boy." Just walk. Toby walked a few paces, paused, then trotted lightly across the grass. His gait was smooth, no limp, no hesitation. Let's keep it short, I said, watching closely. But that's the best movement I've seen since his injury. Adam's eyes lit up. He hasn't trotted since October. It had been 4 months since Toby injured his knee jumping off the UTV. That short trot wasn't just a moment of progress, it was a turning point. From there, we slowly escalated the plan. We introduced short bursts of jogging on soft surfaces, continued hydrotherapy once a week, and began agility-style stepping patterns to restore coordination and confidence. At home, Adam built a small makeshift slalom course using buckets and fence rails in the barn. Claire kept Toby's progress chart updated with notes on every exercise, every new milestone, every small success. At week 16, we began light fetch. Controlled, short tosses in a confined area. The first time, I had them use a soft foam toy rather than a ball to avoid high-impact catching or sudden stops. We did a dozen short throws, no signs of lameness afterward. The week after, we greenlit normal walks up to 30 minutes, with leash-free movement in the pasture. Adam reported that Toby was herding the family's ducks, slowly, carefully, but with that same instinctive eye and shoulder turn he had before the injury. He's pacing himself, Adam said. It's like he knows not to push too hard. The return to full function. At 6 months post-surgery, Toby returned for his final formal evaluation. By now, his left thigh muscle had regained nearly symmetrical volume compared to the right. His range of motion was full. The surgical site was clean, and radiographs showed solid bone healing with no complications. But the real test came outside. I asked Adam to bring a tennis ball. I gave the go-ahead. Let's see what he's got. Toby stood poised, eyes locked on the ball in Adam's hand. Adam gave the command and lobbed it underhand into the far corner of the field. Toby sprinted, ears back, legs moving in fluid synchrony, no hesitation. He retrieved it, spun in a wide arc, and brought it back at full tilt, tail high and mouth open in that perfect dog grin. No limp, no compensation, just Toby, the athlete, back in form. It was emotional, for Adam, for Claire, even for our team, who had followed Toby's case from surgery through each rehab milestone. This wasn't just a success story on paper. It was a full recovery in the real world. Toby was cleared for unrestricted activity. We gave instructions for ongoing joint care, warned about overuse or future arthritis risks, but emphasized that he could return to herding, running, and yes, playing fetch, his favorite thing in the world. Looking back, a year later, Adam sent me a photo. Toby was perched on the edge of their pasture, eyes focused on the sheep in the distance, a slobbery ball by his front paws. The message read, "Toby's still going strong. We don't let him overdo it, but he's back doing what he loves. Couldn't have done it without you." But the truth is, it wasn't just me. Toby's recovery was the result of careful surgery, yes, but also months of discipline, consistency, and love from a family who saw him not as a tool or even just a pet, but as a true teammate. As a veterinarian, these are the stories that stay with you. Not because of the complexity of the procedure or the details of rehab, but because you saw a life interrupted, restored through science, trust, and a little bit of canine determination. Toby's story is a reminder. Healing takes time, but with the right care and the right people behind you, even a torn ligament can become a footnote in a long, happy life.